Hello everyone. In this one, we are going to be talking about how the narcissist will never find anyone better than you. And as you should know by now, if you've been watching my videos for some time, you will know I am not the type of coach of experts who's just going to tell the viewers, tell the victims what they want to hear, just to make them feel better, just to comfort them. No, with me, it's more about speaking the truth, telling you what you need to hear, even if it hurts. And what might really hurt if I did tell you that the narcissist will find someone better than you. But if I was to say that, I wouldn't be telling you the truth. Because honestly, in all of my research and experience, I can confirm that the narcissist will not find someone better than you. Another thing you may wonder, how do I know that they won't find someone better than you? How do I know about the individual narcissist in your life? Or about how good you were for them? How do you know that this video is really about you? And what I would say to that is that it's because you found my videos. You're watching this video right now. Does it not mean that you care about them? Or you did care about them? And you're willing to invest the time to learn about this, to understand what is really going on with them. Because you cared about them in a positive way. You wanted things to work. You try to understand them. You try to be the best person that you could be for them. And in the process, you lost so much. You lost yourself. So that's how you know that, yes, this video, it is about you. It is about what you were for the narcissist. And I know how it feels to be targeted by a predator, to be manipulated, ruthlessly exploited, extorted. I know how it feels to go through that. And I'm going to keep it real with you, in that moment. And it's funny because, so many people, they don't even think about it this way. But I'm sure many of you, you've already realized this by now after going through it. But people often see successful, powerful, attractive people as always being the ones with the power. Actually, no. A lot of times this makes them weak, vulnerable. And even narcissists, they see these qualities as weaknesses. And it's because you have something to exploit. You have something that they can take advantage of. So being successful, attractive, having money, these can all be seen as weaknesses because you have something that can be taken away. And of course, you got involved with a narcissist and they did take these things from you. And yeah, initially, because you cared about them, because you supported them, you loved them. Initially, this was all vulnerability, weakness. And, I'm not victim blaming. It is what it is. We all went through it. It all made us weak. And would it have had that same effect had we not been successful, attractive, had money, a good job, being a good source of supply because we cared about them, we were open, loving, compassionate, of course it wouldn't have affected us in the same way. It's because we had those things to be exploited, taken away from us. So initially, all of those things, they made us weak, vulnerable, liable to danger, harm. But here's the thing. In the long run, the fact that you wore your heart on your sleeve, you let them in, you opened yourself up to them, you gave them opportunities, resources, things that they could use, consume. The fact that you did all those things, it then means that you are strong in the long run. You have a lot of power. And the reason for that is because you have impacted the narcissist and their life in a way that no one else will ever be able to match, to the point where you have now become their reference point. You have now set the bar, and no one else will be able to match that. They will never find anyone else better than you. Now, many of you may think that they will. The narcissist may have convinced you that they will. Well, what I would say to you is that you really need to look back. Just remind yourself of everything you gave to them, what they gave to you, everything you tolerated, how kind, loving, and patient you were, how loyal. And then really think about it. Could you ever imagine anyone else giving even a fraction of what you gave to them? Tolerating a fraction of what you tolerated with them? Accepting as little as you did, the breadcrumbs? Could you imagine anyone else staying in that situation? The odds are that they will never find anyone else on your level. It's just never going to happen. But hypothetically speaking, let's just say that they did. Like how it was with you. They found you. How did they treat you? Were they able to sustain it with you? No, of course not. Because they weren't even on your level to begin with. And what were you looking for? You were looking for someone who was on your level. That's why they mirrored you. So all they can really do is wear the mask again and manipulate people. And whoever they find, at some point, they're going to figure them out. And with time, the narcissist is going to become very bitter, angry, miserable. They're going to start lashing out at people more and more because they're dissatisfied. They can't find what they had before. And narcissists, they don't want to go backwards. If they had something in a certain amount of time from someone, the next time they may be thinking, I want double in half the time. But they've already had the best. They've already had you. So what are they going to do now? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to collapse. They're going to experience a narcissistic collapse. Maybe not immediately, but just give it time. Sometimes it could take years, even decades sometimes, if they're still managing to get some supply. Or they could be in denial, they could be delusional about it. So they don't actually see what's really going on just yet. But eventually they're going to collapse, they're going to have a mental breakdown. They're not going to find satisfaction in anything, they're going to be severely depressed. And they already were depressed, that's why they ended up wearing a mask to manipulate you. Because they were looking for some amusement, entertainment. They were bored. Their lives had no meaning. So, Yeah, they're never going to find anyone better than you. They're never going to find anyone who cared as much as you did. And what did they do with that, with your care, your love, your loyalty, all of your hopes and ambitions of having a future with them? What did they do with that? They exploited it. They humiliated you for it, blamed you, shamed you. That's what they do with love, loyalty, commitment. They don't respect or appreciate it. They don't value it. So how on earth are they ever going to find anyone better? They can only go down. And this is what many of them do. They pursue people, and typically, after they've left you, they start chasing someone who's emotionally unavailable. And they get hurt, they get damaged even more. They also get manipulated themselves. They get deceived. Because that's just it, they couldn't value or appreciate someone who was honest, open, authentic, loving, compassionate. They couldn't appreciate any of those qualities. So what else could happen next? Of course, they have to go down. They have to downgrade. They have to end up with someone who doesn't really care about them, someone who's just using them. And that's just how the story goes, That's just how it turns out for them. But yeah, they didn't truly destroy you. All they did was expose your loyalty. Because the only reason they were able to do those things to you is because you were loyal to them. You trusted and believed in them. And they took advantage of that. And let me tell you this, right? People who do that, people who take advantage of people's loyalty and trust, those types of traits don't ever really change. So they're going to be doing that with the next person too. At least unless the next person manages to do that to them first. They managed to do it with you because you were unaware, you were unsuspecting. You thought they were the same as you. You didn't know that they were like that. But really all they did was expose how loyal and committed you are. And they're never going to find anyone as loyal and committed as you ever again. And even if they do, they will ruin it. They will not appreciate it. They use your empathy as a weapon against you. And they try to make it out as though that means that you don't have any value. When really it just proves your worth. And they humiliated you only because your loyalty made them feel small. Because they weren't good enough to be that way with you. They didn't have the energy, the capacity to be as kind and giving to you as you were with them. So yeah, there's no way they're ever going to find anyone better than you. Someone caring, faithful, and real. And not only that, but someone who is hardworking, disciplined, successful. Someone who takes good care of themselves. Because many people like that in the world today are narcissistic. So to find someone on that level, who's also very loving, kind, and empathetic, that is very rare. So they're never going to have that opportunity again. But yeah, hypothetically speaking, even if they did, they would only exploit it. They're not just suddenly going to change and start appreciating it. Because that's just it, you know, they're wearing a mask. They're manipulating people. And they know that every supply has an expiry date. At some point, they're going to get bored, no matter how wonderful this person is. Or this new person, they're going to figure them out. But I can tell you this, they will try to find you in someone else. They will seek out that same energy. And they will never find it. This is why many of them, they often return back to you. Because they went out into the world and they couldn't find anyone like you. So they don't ever replace you, they just downgrade and they pretend. They are delusional, they are in denial. They're acting like they have something great when really they have something less. They just don't want to admit it to themselves because of how it would make them feel. And also because it's out of their control, they can't do anything about it. They can't find anything better, so they have to accept, and they have to just see it as though what they have is better than what they had with you, even though it's not. And also they try and sell this same dream to you and try and get you to believe in it too. Sometimes they may actually believe in it when really they're being conned. The truth is that you gave them love and loyalty that they never deserved. You are going to move on and heal, and all they're going to experience is regret. They're going to experience disappointment, dissatisfaction. And they're going to see you moving on, they're going to see you healing. And that's why many of them, they will try to come back to you, or if they fear that you will reject them because you're on to them now, you're aware of it, then they're just going to be lurking in the shadows somewhere, spying on you, stalking you. Because it's a distraction from their own lives. It's escapism. So yeah, what they did was they turned your kindness into weakness because they couldn't match it. Because they couldn't afford to be kind like you. So you weren't too much. You were too real for a fake. And that narcissist who played you, they only ended up playing themselves in the end. They self-sabotaged. Because they had something of value in front of them and they didn't appreciate it. They took it for granted. They took your love and kindness as weakness. And let's really think about that, you know. Because it's kind of funny when you think about it. So because you were giving and doing for them, that means that you're weak, you're foolish, you're an idiot. And that's how they're able to laugh at you, humiliate you, shame you. At least, you know, that's their narrative, their mindset. That's how they rationalize it and make sense of it. And that's what makes them feel better. But what does that say about them? if you're the fool, if you're worthy of being laughed at for giving and doing for them, does that not make them less than you? Does that not mean that they do not deserve you? And I'm not even saying this. I'm just creating this this description from their mindset, based on their behaviors of how they react to what you're doing for them. So it's quite a warped, contradictory mindset when you think about it. Because on one hand, they're meant to be superior, entitled, but then you're giving to them, doing for them, and somehow that means that you're the one who's the fool. You're the idiot. You've been tricked. It's like you've given away to something that's not even worth anything. And that's how they then feel powerful. Because this is the thing, right? If someone's doing for you, giving to you, and you feel confident about yourself, you've worked on yourself, everything, you're not going to be that excited about it. You're not going to be feeling like you got one over on someone. It's not going to be a big deal to you. And in fact, you might just give it back. But they don't know. They hold on to it. They hold on to your love, your commitment, your resources, and they never give it back. And they laugh at you, humiliate you, use it to intimidate you. Why? Because they genuinely believe that they were not deserving of that. And you can see it in their mindset, their behaviors, that they felt like they came up by being around you, extracting from you, abusing you. They really believe that, they were doing these things that they didn't even deserve, that they didn't have the right to do. And that's where that rush, that thrill, that excitement came from, is that they saw you as being better than them. Because they know that they're frauds, they're liars, manipulators. And everyone knows this at some level. We know that frauds, people who deceive you, they're not deserving of anything because it's a scam. They are aware of this too. And so they know that they don't really deserve anything because they've tricked you, deceived you, into giving something to them that you wouldn't have given had you have known the truth. So let all of this sink in. They knew that they didn't deserve anything from you. That's how it was all a laugh and a joke to them. That's how they were so excited. It's like it uplifted them. It was euphoric. Narcissistic elation. Because they had gained access, infiltrated something that they knew they didn't deserve to be a part of. And that's really what drives them more than anything. They're constantly chasing the forbidden fruit. They're chasing what they know they shouldn't have. This is what they do. And yeah, that's really what excites them. That's what gives them that supply. Problem is, they've had a certain level of treatment from you. And now nobody else is going to be able to match that. There's no one else out there who's going to be able to do what you did for them, who's going to be able to be what you were for them. And so, yeah, they're really trapped. Eventually, they're going to have a breakdown. They're going to experience a narcissistic collapse. You will all see it at some point if you were that source for them. if you were that grade A source, you're going to start to see gradually with age, they become more angry, more bitter, resentful. They snap more easily, more quickly. They're just not happy, satisfied with anything. And sometimes, yeah, you may see them move on to someone. It can happen. Like sometimes you may see someone who's taking care of them, like a codependent. They may be taking them on trips, private jets, super yachts, everything. In some cases. And yet the narcissist, you can see they still look miserable. They're not happy with any of it. This is how it goes. And this is because they become desensitized gradually. And it just gets to a point where they can't be happy with anything, no matter what anyone does for them. And I'm sure, many of you experience this too, where it's like you were providing a certain level of treatment for them and they always wanted more. It was never enough. And it will never be enough for them. And that's just it, it's not about that they've been done wrong or anything like that. For a start, they manipulate people, they're wearing a mask. They don't deserve anything from anyone, they deserve to work very hard and create something by themselves. That's what they deserve to do. But it's not about them being wronged or anything like that. Because you try to make up for things they went through in the past, it was never enough. And that's just it, It's not something where you can go to a narcissist and it's like, all right, so what happened to you? What did you lose? Let's replace all of it. Let's make it right. That's not going to change anything. It's far too late for them. And a big part of this is the amount of time that they waited, because this all goes back to childhoods. They were neglected, abused. It was traumatic. Their emotional needs were not fulfilled. And they've been holding on to this for a very long time. And this is why they're now the way that they are. So it's far too late, and nothing you do is ever going to make it better for them. And this is why they act in the way that they do. They just go around feeling justified, entitled, and wearing a mask, robbing people, destroying them, just walking all over them. They feel entitled to do that now. In their minds, it's justified. And it makes them feel good. They love it. If this video has been helpful to you so far, give it a thumbs up. But yeah, I can assure you, they're never going to find anyone better. And, that's just it. It's a paradox, because even though in some cases it may look like they've upgraded and someone's treating them better, giving them everything that you could apparently never provide or never be for them, the thing is they can't enjoy it anyway. They can't be satisfied with it. It's still not good enough. And they're just exploiting that person. So, regardless, they never do find better. got any questions, let me know in the live chat. But yeah, you know, how can they find better when they're not even trying to become better themselves? They're just trying to become better manipulators. And what happens if they successfully manipulate and lock someone down who's unaware? They're bringing that person down by manipulating them, because they're not reciprocating back what that person deserves. So that person isn't being their best self around them. I did a video before, you know, narcissists, they don't get the best of people. They get the worst of them. As you or I may have experienced in past relationships, you know, we had people who were truly open with us and loving, laughing, smiling, having a good time. And it continued like that because we reciprocated back to them. We were being open, vulnerable. So it progressed nicely. Narcissists don't get that. Just remember what they got from you. We were miserable being with them. They had to destabilize us. They got the worst of us. They get the worst of everyone. Hila Kalani says, I saw you the first time 5 years ago. You're still talking about the same subject, saying the same things. Let me tell you this, once you heal for good, the narcissist becomes self-aware and gets better. 5 years ago, that was back in 2020. In all honesty, I mean, my videos, yeah, they had a lot of good information back then, but it wasn't anywhere near as deep or advanced as what I share with you today. I understand it at a much deeper level now. I've definitely progressed a lot over the past 5 years. I guess that's what you're trying to say, is that I haven't made any progression in the last 5 years, but I definitely beg to differ with that. In all of my research, because of course since that time I've done thousands of hours of research and I've had years of experience traveling around the world. And also I've become much better at the editing and just the overall quality of my videos. So, you know, my recommendation is to watch my newer videos rather than my older ones. But of course, you know, they're always classics. And, you know, I still recommend all of my work. ELT says, what are they even looking for? I'm so confused. They just need to settle for a rock with no emotions. Well, you've got to understand it like an addiction. It's kind of like a yo-yo, a back and forth game. So they get involved with you, and initially, you know, because they came from the last person who was pretty much like a rock, a zombie. So then they get with you and they're loving all of the emotion that you can provide to them, the validation. But then that starts to get old, that gets boring. And so then they start putting you down, and it's exciting for them to turn a happy, hopeful person into a miserable wreck. And then it gets even more extreme. They go from taking you from a miserable wreck to being a zombie. And then it's a challenge for them to see, can they love bomb you? Can they get the emotion out of you again? And they just take you back and forth. They're just knocking you unconscious and then resuscitating you, reviving you, and it just goes on and on like that. And this is all revolving around their addiction to validation, power, control, and a sense of superiority. GM Flower asks, how common is whole families being narcs? Do they get along with each other? It's definitely going to be quite common, I would say, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Typically, there's going to be one scapegoat in a narcissistic family who they all just blame everything on. And then the rest of them may be narcissistic, but of course, that's a bit too simplified. It's not that they're all just narcissistic. We could have some borderlines, histrionics. There could be comorbidity. So there could be a whole host of things going on there. But one thing we can say is that it is dysfunctional. Emily Agapi says, aren't the empath's childhood just as traumatic though? Mine was at least. Probably even more, I thought. Well, that's it, many of us who are empaths, we may have had more traumatic childhoods than narcissists. And yet we still didn't become that way. We had hope, belief in people. These narcissists, they're actually very weak, very fragile. And that's how they ended up that way. And this is how you see them, and they're like loose cannons. It doesn't really take anything to make them snap. Aaron Michael says, I was in fact zombified by her. That's it, they don't really want like a living, breathing human with feelings, emotions, connection. They don't want that really. It seems like they do initially because they just turned the last person into a zombie. So that got boring for them. And so they really just seek the newness, the dopamine. It's the transition, the change. Hira Kalani Honestly, you are spreading misinformation there. To say let's heal them rather than to shame them, it is possible. You cannot heal a narcissist. They can only heal themselves. We can only heal ourselves. And actually, funny enough, you will have a much better chance at getting them to heal themselves by shaming them rather than to be continuing to give them supply, validation. All you're doing is supporting the grandiose false self. The reason why they don't heal is because they don't want to confront their shame. So the best thing you could do for them is to expose them and have them to become isolated to where they have no choice but to confront their shame. That's how they're going to heal. Either they're going to heal or some of them may take their own lives. But yeah, they're never going to find anything better than you. It's never going to happen. I can assure you of that. They're never going to find anyone who was what you were for them, who gave what you gave to them. It is never going to happen. And especially, even if that did somehow happen, they would not be able to sustain it. They would not appreciate it, value it. They'd barely even see it. They would just destroy it. So, yeah, when you see them moving on, you're not missing out on anything. What you think you're missing out on is fake. It's just more lies, more illusions. Nothing you haven't already seen from them. So just forget it. Don't let it get to you. All you need to focus on now is you. Where you're trying to go, who you're trying to be. Getting back to yourself, healing, growing. That's all you need to focus on. Don't worry about them. Nothing is getting better for them. Not unless they pay the price. Not unless they go through the trials and tribulations. They experience the suffering. That's the only way that things are ever going to get better for them. That's how things got much better for me. It's by going through the pain, the suffering, the healing. Honestly, I have suffered so much in my life. And I never ran away from it. This is why, even at my age to today, 36, I don't really look that age. I haven't got any wrinkles. I'm a very calm, peaceful person because I don't fight it. I don't resist it. I just accept it. I deal with it and I process it. And I would say that resisting it, fighting it, it may feel less painful sometimes, but it just prolongs it. And then with time, it just accumulates and becomes worse, like a wound. So it's much better to go within and deal with it. And that is just naturally what I do as an empath. Of course, sometimes, I have resisted it. And in my own experience, that just caused me more pain. But yeah, for the narcissist, they're going to keep resisting, fighting the truth about themselves. And in the end, they're going to experience a collapse, a breakdown. And then they're really going to suffer. And they have been suffering for a long time already. But it's just going to get much worse. That wound, it's going to become even more decayed. Well, as for you, the wounds that they caused in you, you're going to heal all of that. And you're going to feel much better in time. So, they won't be getting anything for nothing. Those of them who do manage to move on and heal, even though, as someone mentioned in the comments, it's very rare. I mean, you just look at Lee Hammock from Mental Illness, a diagnosed narcissist. He has spent years in therapy. And that's the only way he was able to manage his disorder. So, no pain, no gain. That's how it is. But yeah, if this video was good for you, give it a thumbs up. Let's work together to get it out there. And if you are new to my channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I go live again. And let me know what you think about what I've said to you in the comments down below. I read your comments every day. And we have lots of supportive subscribers on here who I'm sure would love to hear your story. And we can all start a discussion together down below in the comment section. And I am available for personal one-on-one support, which you can book through my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. I appreciate all of your donations, no matter how small. You can donate by going to paypal.me/narcsurvivor. And you can check out my Instagram, follow me. New content every day on there. It's narcsurvivor.co.uk on Instagram. And also our new Facebook group, it's called Narc Survivor. And there's new videos and quizzes on there every day. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate your support. And I look forward to speaking with you in another live video very soon.